Huh.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to the Irish Hills of Michigan as they play host to the 16th race of the season for the Great Lake Truck Series. This is playoff race number 6. This sets the table for the championship battle in 2 weeks at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. I'm Seth Cole, alongside of Matthew Rodriguez. And Matt, 4.5 grooves here when they head into the corners, and based off what we saw in practice, they're going to use every single one of them.
Yeah, it's one of those tracks where it isn't technically a super speedway, but boy, does it feel like it.
3 drivers right now appear to be those in the hunt, the championship. Austin Moore, one of those drivers. He's the pole sitter here tonight. It's him and his 2 teammates, Michael Sensi and the current points leader, Elliot Henderson. But I get the feeling here tonight, if Moore and Sensi are going to get close enough to make it a battle in a couple weeks' time, it's not as much of them having a good run, it's Elliot Henderson needs to have a bad run, and he has been so consistent here during these playoff races.
Yeah, and it's perfectly like you said. They need a little bit of luck on their side, and they need a good run. The best thing to do is run your race. Run the best race that you possibly can, because as much as we want to hope, or that if you're a driver in that situation, that you want to hope that Elliot Henderson's going to have a bad day, you got to make sure that you don't have a bad day. So the key thing is focus on what you can focus on. Focus on what you can control. You can control your own destiny here. You can't control if Elliot Henderson goes into the wall. That's going to be something that gets decided by outside fate.
Henderson going to roll off from the 11th position. He'll be on the inside line, and we'll see how long it takes for him to get up to the front. That's about where he was scored in practice as well, around 11th, 12th position. But again, he doesn't have to go out and win here tonight. He's just got to preserve that points lead heading into the Atlanta Motor Speedway. We've got 30 trucks ready to take the green flag here tonight for 100 laps. May seem like it's a lengthy one with it being a 2-mile racetrack, but it is going to be somewhat short for these guys, so it is going to be interesting to see just how aggressive drivers that qualify mid-pack, rear of the field, how fast they're going to try and pick up track position that they didn't necessarily get at the drop of the green. As here we go, Austin Moore, Jackson Sims, Chevy, Toyota get us underway here tonight in the Patti Engineering 200.
And Nicewinger's really pushing in that bottom side right behind Austin Moore. I really wonder how aggressively some guys are going to take it earlier into this race.
Shane Nicewalker is that outlying driver here tonight. He comes into this race 5th in the point standings, 70 points out. He's got a shot of at least being in the mathematical conversation when we get to Atlanta. The other driver, Jackson Sims, who started on the outside of the front row, was 60 points back. We'll see if those drivers can capitalize here tonight, but we talk about the fact that Sensi and Moore need one driver to have a problem. Sims and Nicewalker, they need all 3 of the E95 cars to have an issue.
I noticed Barbagellotta just came down the pit road. Not exactly sure what happened. He actually stopped at the end of the pit road. Looks like he towed. Not sure what happened.
Here is the Dr. Pepper Toyota. As obviously an unscheduled pit stop for him as we're 3 wide. Looking for
4 wide.
turn 2. That was Madalinas and Spencer Owens, and Madalinas out of shape there off of turn 2. He was the bottom truck in the 3 wide, and now we got a truck down the apron. That's Nathan Jump, last week's winner, who's bailing out and falling to the back.
I think he saw the racing up front. So that I'm not part of that right now. And it may just be one of those super speedway tactics of, hey, let me just kind of chill out in the back right now, and then I can work my way through there.
Saw him running the apron there down the front straightaway. Might be trying to take away any opportunity for Tyrell Baker or Shane Nicewalker to get some draft heading into turn 1. But here comes the 025 Baker, who was the fastest in practice. He's to the inside for the race lead. Somebody else back there made a move to the bottom. That was Daniel Nanny, and he was all sorts of loose there off of turn 2.
I noticed Austin really kind of swerved the car there out of 2. I'm not sure if it stepped out on him or if he was trying to make an aggressive block.
In fact, they were going to use every lane available in these corners, but these trucks, they are dancing. They don't look all that steady, almost kind of floating through these corners as we're still 3 wide. This is for the 6th position. Nicewalker in the middle. Daniel Nanny on the bottom. Up top side, that's the 00 of Aiden DuPont.
And this is what we'll see for a lot of this race, is y'all just kind of fighting side by side. It looks like Gavin Fitzgerald.
That Nicewalker? Yes,
Yeah,
it
nice.
was.
He barely. I'm gonna take back and see what happened. I saw him get really out of shape. Don't know if he had help.
Somebody also brushed the wall of him too, and I think it
Ah,
might have been the giant tiger, number 14 of Gavin Fitzgerald. I don't know
yeah,
if
it
maybe what
looks.
happened to Ice Wong was a reaction to that or not.
So Fitzgerald actually touched the wall just a little bit behind him. Looks like it was Aiden DuPont. Touched the wall, went a little bit down, and just barely got the side of Nicewonger, sent him all the way down to the infield, but manages to keep it straight. Just probably gonna have a little bit of hurt feelings about that.
Not sure, but we might have for just a split second had 5 wide there through 1 and 2. Tyrell Baker was dropping back. You had Daniel Manny, Matt Durr, Zach Henry, and Aiden DuPont. I think they were 4 wide, and when they were passing by Tyrell Baker, I think we, for a brief moment, had them 5 abreast, and they all made it through.
And just kind of looking at this is, I take it as this is when you need to have that decision point where if you're someone like Elliot Henderson, you need to be evaluating, do I need to be up here right now? Or is it safe for me to be up here right now? Partially just because for some of these guys, Jackson Sims, kind of, he's on the outside looking in. He needs a really good run. So I don't imagine him backing down. Neither do I see Austin Moore backing down. He really needs a good run. For someone like Elliot, who does have a decent points lead and doesn't really have to be up here fighting right now, I'd be kind of taking it a little bit easy.
This as well. We had the Super Speedway of Talladega here during the playoffs, but most of the other racetracks have kind of been driver tracks. Here at Michigan, with the trucks, you can see you can throw a whole blanket over the entire field. It's one big pack. Is this a place where drivers that aren't necessarily in the conversation for the championship, that haven't been able to run at the front consistently at the other non-Super Speedway type tracks, they're eyeing this as the last opportunity to maybe pick up a checkered flag? You got the technical.
Oh,
no, Jackson Sims gets into more! That's the leader spinning in front of the field! Everybody scattering to avoid. Somebody did get him. I couldn't tell who. There's another one on trouble up ahead. That's Lewis Woodall. Somebody did get the back end of the 91, but I'm not certain who it was. It was up in the vicinity of Daniel Nanny, Elliot Henderson, Gavin Fitzgerald,
I think
but
it was
I don't know which one it
Aiden
was.
DuPont. I'm not sure if Sims came up or DuPont came down. I'm fairly certain that it may have been the case of both. One was going down, one was going up, but definitely kind of met in the middle there.
And Austin Moore, the race leader, paid the price. Let's go back and take a look at it here. Boy, that's a lot of track position lost right there for driver 91, who started on the pole position. And here's a look at what you were describing. I think Sims thought he was clear. It just wasn't.
Yeah, I did notice that DuPont went down a little bit, but Sims definitely came up, and they just kind of met, and Austin Moore was the unfortunate bystander and all that, but Moore did a really good job trying to lock down the car. Everyone barely missed him, and he didn't get any additional damage out of that. There was a secondary incident back in the field where I think it was Lewis Woodall.
I believe the 2 of Matt Durr and the 9 of Hunter Madalinas are the 2 that get the back of the 91 right there. Might be some left front damage on the 9 truck. There was another truck just ahead of him that might have gotten a slight piece of that back bumper of the 91 of Austin Moore, but it's kind of weird because the rear bumper cover was gone on Austin Moore and then it reappeared. So that's not certain how that works out. So let's take a look at the Lewis Woodall incident. That was the follow-up.
Yeah, looking at it here, really it looks like Lewis did a really good job just trying to slow up for the instant he sees the smoke, and then the 30 of Alex Fritter just does hit the brakes.
Pretty good contact there with the right front for the Chevy parts number 30 of Alex Fetter, and Lewis Woodall stalled out there. I think he was just waiting for everybody to get around him, make sure that he didn't slide down to anybody's lane, but some early damage as well for the number 13. First caution of the evening, Aiden DuPont, after all that just took place, involving contact with the top 3. He's going to be the race leader. Matt Durr in second, Daniel Nanny third, and look who was able to slice and dice his way through everything that took place there through 3 and 4. Now Elliot Henderson is up in fourth with Madalinas in the 5th position, and Yeah, I think you can see there is damage on the left front of that 9 truck.
Yeah, it looks just barely there. The only thing that really kind of has me scared, honestly, the more that I look at it, I just don't see any
Well,
damage there.
maybe not. Maybe it was just the angle I was looking at. Now it doesn't look like there is damage.
Deceptive paint scheme. Um, but realistically, I'm really worried about anyone who did get damage. Really, aero damage is going to kill you here because it's almost the same as a super speedway where it.
Looks like we had 9 drivers stay out. Robin Durr in 11th place on down. Those drivers came to pit road. I don't know, we only ran about, 6, 7 laps under green. Would there be any advantage to fresh tires at this point in time, or are they just trying to get a little off sequence in terms of fuel?
I think, realistically, I'd love having new tires, especially at a track where making moves, and especially at a track like Michigan where you're getting these insane runs and you really need to be able to make quick moves to left and right. The bigger thing that kind of comes into mind is also fuel. Is, hey, if we do get on a long green flag run, that there's 90 laps left. Those 10 laps of fuel will really make the difference.
See, Hunter Madalinas has been running the apron here under these pacing laps. Might be trying to save some fuel there as he'll restart in the 5th position. Had a little change of mind there. Aiden DuPont took the outside line down the back straightaway. He was originally going to start on the inside line, so he'll put Matt Durr on the bottom. There will be 28 drivers coming around to take this restart. Alex Fetter still on pit road getting damage repaired, and we saw Michael Barbachelotto was on pit road very early on in this race. He is currently 10 laps down and still sitting there getting repairs or whatever the case may be on that 22 car. A couple of drivers had extended stays on pit road. We'll keep an eye on them as far as if they had the damage repair, getting back up to speed. Jackson
There's a
Sims
cluster
and
back in that
Woodall.
field. They are going 4 or 5 wide all the way back in the pack, just trying to find any way in.
And Austin Moore is one of those drivers on the move, along with Tyrell Baker. 3 wide there with the 91. He's stuck behind Rod Fast now. How about 4 wide? Spencer Owens going to his top side. Woodall way up on the extreme outside line. All contact! And there goes the 4 across the nose. That is Jared Darling. Cautions out yet again. I believe he and Fast now got together, and they're both going through the infield grass.
Huh. Well, that isn't the concrete, though. I'll give it that.
A break there for Jared Darling, playoff contender. Had a struggling start to the playoffs. His finishes as of late, though, have been really good. Just a little too late for him. 8th in overall points, 77 points back. Very unlikely that he will get back into the championship conversation, even if he were to have a good run or even a win here today. And let's take a look at what happened here. This is back around that 4 wide we were showing you off of turn 4.
It looks
Not
like
a lot of room being given.
Yeah, it looks like he ran Rod just a little bit low, and our old friend Gapwack pretty much just finished a job where it was just enough to turn him sideways, and then the 55 ended up finishing the job.
Ethan Ball in the 55, gave him that little tap from behind, spun him down across the nose of the 16. Here's another angle of it coming off the corner, and yeah, kind of pinched Fast now down. That truck almost got a little bit of air right there. So contact on the left and right hand side of that Giant Tiger Chevrolet. I believe that's a Chevrolet. Or is that a Toyota? That is a Toyota.
Sorry, these cars get harder and harder to identify.
Unless I'm able to see the front, I have a tough time identifying the trucks. Pit road open, and we got some takers. That's Matt Durr and Zach Wilson, giving up what would have been 3rd and 4th to hit pit road. I think they are the only ones, at least up there inside of the top 10. Tyrell Baker is in from mid-pack. Looks like Spencer Owens might also be in. Lewis Woodall back down on pit road as well. So 14 laps have been run, working our second caution of the day. Aiden DuPont out in front. We don't say Aiden's name very much here, at least up inside of the front of the field. Aiden DuPont so far this season in 11 starts is still looking for that first top 10 finish. He had a good run last week that moved him up 3 spots in the standings, but he is 26th in overall points. So you look at drivers that are not in the hunt for that championship, eyeing this as the last opportunity, because next time we go green, it's the season finale at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, the legacy version, not the super speedway, and that is such a technical racetrack. So big opportunity here tonight for this 00, if not to be able to get his first checkered flag of the season, at least his first top 5, maybe top 10 on the year.
And it's the small things that kind of keep you motivated going into the next season.
Yes, absolutely. Daniel Nanny has had a limited schedule here in the Great Lake Truck Series. He'll be restarting in second. And then Elliot Henderson just looking for a good, consistent run here today to have that points lead going into Atlanta, currently running in 3rd place. I'm going to check real quick and see what possibly the most amount of points a driver can gain during the course of a race, and it looks like 45 points might be, I think, the most points you can gain. I'm basing this off of last week when Nathan Jump went to victory lane. He led the most laps and getting a total of 45 points. So if you look at the point standings coming into this one, Michael Sensi, if he finishes 7 positions behind Elliot Henderson, then he mathematically would probably be out of the conversation, even if he were to go to victory lane in Atlanta. And Austin Moore is trying to keep himself within that 45 points gap, so that way he has a mathematical shot. The only difference with all of that is we probably have to have, what, a 40 truck field in order for that type of scenario to work out. Granted, we've got 30 trucks here tonight, but with there being 30 trucks in the field, you're probably looking at more than a must-win situation for either the 91 or the 92 next week.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I see it here, where you're kind of just fighting for your survival.
Lap 16 is when the green flag will fly once again. Aiden DuPont out in front, takes the outside line once again here on this restart. See on the left side of your screen, the drivers highlighted in blue that are playoff contenders. Only a handful of them still mathematically in the hunt. Michael Sensi right there, 2 positions behind his teammate, Elliot Henderson. Green flag back in the air. One driver back there did not get going. That was the 98, I believe, of Robin Durr. Stacked up that whole inside line as top 2, maybe 3. We'll get clear on that outside line. Daniel Nanny in the bottom, and now Henderson's to his left rear. We're going 3 wide for the lead off of 2.
And that's where it's really going to start to get dicey. I think that bottom lane is really the one with the most risk here. But you've got Hunter Manolitas coming with a strong push in the outside.
Daniel Nanny going to clear the nose of Elliot Henderson. Now he's side by side with Aiden DuPont for the race lead. Ooh, that 00 looked a little loose up there. And 30 of Daniel Nanny pushed up a tiny bit there on the inside line. And look at this. Little tandem drafting Manolinas to the back bumper of Aiden DuPont down the front straightaway. Propels him into turn number 1. Nanny still hanging tough on that inside line. And we're looking 3 further back there. That was the 17, I believe, of Nick Hansen, the 10 of Hunter Brittle, and the 60 of Ryan Potter. That was around the 10th position.
And what I'm really wondering with almost the kind of pushing that we're seeing out of DuPont and Manolinas is I don't think it's sustainable through the corners, but I'm wondering if it's messing up DuPont's entry into one. Oh, we're wrecking in the middle of the pack. It looks like TC.
Robin Durr and others.
There's another wreck way further back in the pack.
That truck scattering through the grass. There's the first truck I saw out of shape. Yangling number 98 of Robin Durr. There's Nathan Jump, last week's winner, going through the grass. Ryan Potter in the 60 might have been involved. Go back and see all what happened this time off of turn 4. 3 and 4 wide yet again off that final corner, leading to this incident. And it was indeed around the 60 of Ryan Potter and the 98 of Robin Durr. Potter,
Yeah,
is
Potter
that
just
in
got
reaction to the 10 pushing up, perhaps? Or
Yeah,
did he just get tight?
I think he got a bit spooked by the 10 coming up the track. Gave him just a little bit too much room and bounced right into the side of the 98, and that's what really kicked it all off.
The big hit there for the 55. That was Ethan Ball that got into the 60 of Ryan Potter. Here's a look at it again off of 4.
Yeah, just pushes up, and at that point, it's every man for himself. Everyone's just trying to find a way through the field. Gavin Fitzgerald, he found his way through.
Eric Kemp got a piece of it. He got a pretty good look into the outside wall. Saw Jeff Johnson going through the grass. Might take a couple of replays to get a full idea of absolutely everybody who was involved in this wreck. Ooh, I think Tyrell Baker just got through. Zach Wilson just squeaked through.
That 55 of Ethan Ball took almost a direct hit onto the side of Ryan Potter.
Taken on board with Tyrell Baker because he had a pretty good view of all that took place there. Watch this, as he did have a pretty good view as well of the initial contact. Right there.
And barely misses the original contact.
Look at the hands.
Gerald,
Look at the hands.
A little bit of help.
Oh my gosh. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Not only trying to avoid cars, but trying to keep the back end of the truck from spinning out because he's in the no-grip grass.
Well, that's not other. That's a good day. He may have a little bit of nose damage at the end, but it's better than a junked car.
Wow.
Good heads-up awareness.
Let's see about the 14 of Gavin Fitzgerald, the adventure he went on there. So right behind this is a really good view of the 60 and the 10, 98 getting together, and then right there makes contact with the 98, but never stops driving it. Oh gosh, look at the fishtail. Wow.
Never stopped wheeling.
Never. Going to have some damage he'll have to work on the front end there. Should be able to continue as Zach Henry is going to inherit the race lead. Looks like the drivers that had stayed out under the first 2 cautions, they pit under this yellow opportunity. Your top 3 are drivers that pit under the first caution: Henry, Owens, and Wilson. So they are going to cycle up to the podium spots for this restart. Zach Wilson and Matt Durr, who pitted under the second caution, they're going to line up in the 4th and 5th positions. And then Tyrell Baker, Daniel Nanny, Lewis Woodall, Elliot Henderson, Adam Zorn, they all came to pit road under this yellow flag. They are the completion of the top 10. Zach Henry looking for his 2nd win on the season. He's looking to join big list of multi-time winners this season, including Elliot Henderson and Shane Neiswanger, Jared Darling, Ashton Lawson, and of course Will Barbagelata, who is at the very top of the leaderboard in terms of wins with 3. Lucky dog under this caution, I believe, would have gone to the 30 of Alex Fetter. He was 4 laps down, gets one of those back. He is now -3. First retiree out of the race officially is Ethan Ball in the 55. We'll have to wait and see where he officially is going to be scored, as we're still waiting for the 22 of Michael Barbagelata. Actually, he is now back onto the racetrack, so if he's able to complete about 13, 14 circuits, Ball will finish 30th place here tonight. Is 3 wide, 4 wide again. We were looking 4 wide. Madalinas thought about it, then tucked back in line.
I'm looking at Spencer Owens. He's having a really good run. Looks like Sims and Zach Wilson almost touched down the field.
Baker there, 25. Now remember, he's got about 5 lap pressure tires than 2 of these drivers, about 13 lap pressure tires than 3 of these drivers. We'll see if that fresh rubber comes into play with getting him to the lead. For the moment, top 3 get themselves single filed out. Henry, Owens, Wilson.
Slowly but surely. And like I said, Spencer Owens had a really good run at the the start of last week, and just couldn't end up finishing it out. Got a really good finish, but you know he's hungry for more.
Absolutely. Here we are looking back at the 23, 3 wide, potentially behind him again. It's Annie on the top, Wilson in the middle, Baker on the bottom. Now they settle it back out to double wide. Kind of one of those cases where you get a run, you gotta take it somewhere. Michigan Auto Club, the 2-mile racetracks are very much so about momentum. If you lift to try and aid a certain driver ahead of you or around you, more often than not, you're the one that eventually pays the price, because your loss of momentum, drivers are going to take advantage of that.
And it's the thing of, you pretty much hit it perfectly, where it's, hey, if you lift, the guy behind you isn't, and he's going to easily just fly right on by you with the combined momentum. So the best part is really just take your runs where you can get them, and then make sure that, hey, when that run ends up dying off or you don't have any help, that there is enough room for you to tuck back in.
Slick pass there for 4 through 3 and 4 by Tyrell Baker. Oh, 6 of Jackson Sims disappeared for a moment and then reappeared in the middle 3 wide. That was a little sketch. Oh, Lewis Woodall in the 13. Saw him get involved in a wreck over in turn 4, and good comeback right now. He is battling with Hunter Madalinas for the 8th position, and Austin Moore, who got spun from the race lead, fastest truck in qualifying, got the pole position. He is working his way back up into the top 10. Last time I scored 10, now looking from 9th on Matt Durr. So keep an eye. The truck number 91 may not be done here tonight.
Yeah, I think all they really did is ended up taking off for Austin Moore, and he is driving even harder now.
Scott Pye now working on Hunter Madalinas. The 91 is back up into the top 10 as, whoa, both Tyrell Baker and Daniel Nanny look really loose on that inside line. And I have to wonder, don't think that loose sensation is going to get any better, right, as these tires continue to wear down?
No, and I will admit, I've seen Nanny kind of give some of the hardest pushes in this field where, you know, I've seen cars and he's just kind of just pushed them ahead. But I can say without a doubt that every time I've seen him push a car, it just looks unstable.
Elliot Henderson in the 37 on the outside of Zach Wilson. And it's interesting because, you know, we talked with Elliot last week. We said, you know, you've got a good points gap between yourself and the rest of your competition for this championship. You go into Michigan just looking to be consistent. He said, nope, as soon as I put on the helmet, I want to be the first one to the checkered flag. So willing to put himself potentially in harm's way up here in the eye of the storm with the double and 3 wide racing inside of this top 10. Pushed up a little bit there, almost to the left report of Zach Henry, but willing to run that risk here tonight to maybe gain the ultimate reward and lock everybody out of the championship battle in 2 weeks' time in Atlanta.
And realistically, even though as much as we preach caution, I mean, that is not Henderson's style. Again, you keep nailing on it where if Henderson wins this weekend, let's say every other of his competitors have a problem, that makes his next week so much easier.
Right now, Austin Moore in 10th, Michael Sensi in 12th. Those were the 2 drivers that came in tonight mathematically with a chance of taking the points lead, though quite a bit of a surmountable gap they would have had to have closed up between themselves and driver 37. Jackson Sims and Shane Neiswanger, who were the long shots to try and get themselves into the championship picture in 2 weeks' time. Sims right now in 5th, Neiswanger all the way back in the 17th position. Not sure what exactly has happened with the 49 truck. Whoa, Wilson loose there off of turn 2 around the 8th position, but Neiswanger was running up here inside of the top 5, top 10 in the early going. I believe he had a good qualifying spot. Yeah, he was 3rd off the grid. Not sure what's happened with him.
Well, he had that trip to the almost to the inside wall, manages to kind of reel it back, but he was just not in the traffic as well as
to be a case of being back in traffic affecting the handling of that truck. He was closer to clean air in the early portion of this race. It's getting further back in the pack. Does that affect the way the truck handles?
Easily. And again, just because how it handles in the front of the pack doesn't mean it's going to handle that way in the back of the pack. But you're also racing with guys that maybe you're unfamiliar with. At the front of the field, you race with these guys week in and week out, and when you're at the back of the field, you tend to race with a lot of guys that maybe you're just not comfortable with.
Daniel Nanny to the race lead. We're only 29 laps in. I've already seen quite a number of slide jobs here up inside of this top five, and Daniel Nanny's been doing a couple of them. Used a little bit of a slide job to get around Tyrell Baker for this race lead. Now, trying to see if he can open up some type of a gap between himself and the 25, who got a little loose, but had a little bump. Left rear quarter panel going into turn one from Elliott Henderson. That was really close. It's still some contact in this battle for second.
Yeah, and it's really sketchy because when you're exactly like that, all lined up on a line, the moment that lead car has to brake, it's almost a chain reaction, and you're just kind of hoping as the second, third, or fourth cars that everyone can kind of check up and it's not going to turn into this giant chain reaction.
Daniel Danny mentioned that he's running a limited schedule, only 2 starts prior to tonight. He ran at the Rockingham Oval and he ran at Talladega a few weeks ago. Man, that was a shove. Hunter Madalinas and Zach Henry going into turn one. That was a bit of a late bump there. It's a wonder the 12 didn't at least get somewhat loose, but again, pretty planted. But going back to the Daniel Nanny conversation, in the 2 starts he's made, no finishes inside of the top 15, 25th at Rockingham, 19th at Talladega. And when we kind of remember back to what we saw out of Daniel Nanny at Talladega, it kind of feels like this is an all or nothing type mentality for this driver.
Extremely. And again, for him, he is just swinging for the fences. I mean, again, it's the pure epitome of we're either going to bring home the trophy or we're going to bring home the steering wheel.
We have yet to have any other playoff contender win during this postseason outside of Elliott Henderson, who picked up victories at both Talladega and the week after, well, the race after, 2 weeks after, at Homestead Miami Speedway, and he is putting the pressure on Daniel Nanny, looking for his 3rd victory, not only of the playoffs, but of the season. It wasn't until we got into the playoffs that the 37 started finding checkered flags, had very consistent regular season to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, and just kind of looking at this, I can tell that they're starting to migrate to that top lane. And I've noticed more and more trucks as they start to get to that bottom lane, the back end start to step out more and more and more. I'm thinking the tracks got a little bit hotter. I mean, currently it looks like the track is roughly about 91, which doesn't sound that bad, but as the tires continue to wear, that back end's going to keep getting looser and looser. Same thing with the fuel running low.
There's Shane Nice-Wonger in the 49, working his way back up towards the top 10, 13th place where he scored. Austin Ford just ahead of him in the 11th position. Teammate Michael Sensi on the bottom. Last time by scored in 12th. Just ahead of them, you got Aiden DuPont, who led in the early going of this race. He's currently scored in the 10th position. Got about, looks like 17 trucks up in this lead group now. Got to go another 0.8 of a second back to Jared Darling and Adam Zorn. Then you got a number of drivers that are running quite a ways off of the pace, and I'm noticing a few of them were involved in that last caution with trucks scattering through the infield grass. Hunter Brittle, Rod Fastow, Aaron Kemp, Kevin Fitzgerald, Ryan Potter, Robin Durr. These are all drivers that sustained some type of damage in that wreck, and apparently it has affected them. Now, I'm assuming, I could be wrong, but I'm assuming that it'd be more aero speed that they've lost rather than RPMs with the engine.
Most likely, because most of these trucks, they're pretty durable, but the problem is Michigan is a highly aero-dependent track, and any little bump, crinkle, that can easily affect how the car's going to drive, especially if you're that lead car.
Long green flag run we've settled into here. 16 laps so far since we went back green, working early cautions here at Michigan. And with that being said, it'll be interesting to kind of see when pit strategy potentially starts to come into play. Remember, we had about 3 or 4 drivers that stayed out under the last 2 cautions, looking particularly at Zach Henry, Jackson Sims, and Spencer Owens. They are just now completing their 27th lap on this run. If we get into a cycle of green flag pit stops, at least in terms of fuel, you would have to think that trio would be some of the first to dive onto pit lane.
Absolutely. But it could always be a little bit of a throw off call. I mean, you never really know what's going to happen until the call gets there.
And I know draft comes into play with some of the lap times we see, some of the fastest lap times we see laid down at tracks like this, but you talked about the temperature here today, the ambient temperature, the track temperature, certainly got to be wearing down these Goodyear tires, and here on this run, we are running anywhere from about a full second to second and 2/10 slower than the fastest laps that these drivers laid down in the first 10 laps of this race. So there, I believe, would be a huge potentiality of gaining track position on the undercut. You just have to hope that you don't have a caution come out and completely mess up that strategy. Speaking of the undercut, Jackson Sims just saw the 6 diving onto pit lane.
I mean, more importantly than hoping that a caution does come out, you don't want to be the caution here. You don't want to have to be the reason that everything kind of, your whole plan kind of goes up in smoke.
What you want to make sure you do is not speed here on pit road, because with the speeds they're carrying, you'll lose at least 1 lap coming to pit lane, and you don't want to risk losing maybe a second or a third lap, because as we know with the iRacing penalties, if you're caught speeding on the entry of pit road, they hold you for 40 seconds, and those 40 seconds can be very, very valuable. It's Elliott Henderson, you saw him moments ago, take the race lead. I believe the 12, Zach Henry, is coming in, along with the 23 of Spencer Owens. That's 2 of the 3 drivers that we were looking for, along with Jackson Sims, that they had to do something different, because they were going to be shorter on fuel than everybody else. They are coming to pit road 30 laps into their run, which means we could see the rest of these drivers on pit road within the next 10 laps.
And that's the big risk of staying out. Because when you stay out, you're hoping to get maybe lead a few laps, get in a good position, and hope that a caution comes out maybe, let's say, 10, 15, 20 laps into that run. So before you have to come down for fuel, hopefully another caution comes and goes you out, and hey, you have a set of tires that, you know, you save from not taking that original pit stop, and you can easily go put some fuel in it. But now this is kind of the offside of that strategy of, well, this isn't playing out.
At the same time, really, especially in the case of Jackson Sims, 60 points out of the points lead, you need to do something different here today if you're going to get yourself back into that championship picture. If you just keep running the same strategies, the 37, the 91, the 92, it's really very unlikely that you're going to be able to gain the positions necessary to get yourself back into that championship hunt in 2 weeks.
And realistically, the ones that would probably benefit most by the undercut or maybe just being a little bit more aggressive on pit road has to be that whole second group right now that is not connected to that main drafting pack, where it's not that dire of a situation. I'm pretty sure if they work together, they could actually probably catch that lead group. But people underestimate how aggressively you can enter pit road and how much time you can make up by just entering that more aggressively, where, hey, you may be 2 seconds behind on track, but a little bit more aggressive entry on pit road, a little bit more aggressive exit on pit road, hey, you could be right up there.
Got more drivers just hit pit road this last time by. We saw Tyrell Baker, Matt Durr, and Eric Kempf also on pit road here on lap 41. So another driver's diving down. This is more of Zach Wilson. He is the only one inside the top 10 this lap. Nathan Jump in the 83, who we saw in this fun little battle with Aiden DuPont and Brent Pincott. He's just now dove onto pit lane. Dominant truck last week. Picked up his first career victory of the season at Kansas Speedway. So if you're the 30 of Daniel Nanny, you've got nothing to lose. You're just out trophy hunting. You know Elliott Henderson is points racing right now, championship racing. Well, you know what? I'm gonna store the question for another day, because I was gonna say you try something different, but nope, he's coming down the same lap as the 37.
But I love that aggressive entry by Nanny, where he was falling back just a little bit on entry, and then you saw right as they got to that line, he's right there. And this is really what kind of gets you in that situation of, hey, maybe I was behind him on, you know, on track and on pit road, but the moment I get on pit road and we start fighting for position, I can easily make up all that time. Plus, just think, if Henderson overshoots his pit box just slightly or slides through his box and has to back up, that is seconds.
Your Madelinas going to get a lap lead in number 9. Let's see if he comes to pit road this time or not. I think so. Pretty high there. 3 and 4. We're waiting for him, Brent Kincott, Austin Moore, Michael Sensi, a couple of others, Nick Hansen and Lewis Woodall, to come to pit road to complete the cycle of pit stops here. The first cycle of pit stops, I should say. And these pit stops taking place about 20-25 laps into the run, which says to me that I don't know if they can make it on one more pit stop or not. I mean, are they going the furthest they can on fuel, or are they seeing the fact that drivers came to pit road, yeah, off sequence, but they got those fresh tires, and they're saying, okay, we don't want to be at a tire disadvantage here. We're going to come down and make it equal as far as the grip that we have, as opposed to the grip they've just gotten.
Personally, I'd try to run it as far as I possibly can. Man, Austin Moore went really aggressively on entry. But I would try to make up as much time as possible and try to run my stint as long as possible, because if I'm in a group that has draft, I'm confident that even if my tires are falling off, even if the car starts to feel bad, I'll still be able to kind of hold some sort of a gap. However, if I'm running alone, I may start thinking about that alternative strategy, but again, that kind of only digs you into a hole where if you're in a good situation already, it's going to possibly make a good situation go a lot worse.
Remember, we saw Jackson Sims, Zach Henry, and Spencer Owens, the first ones on pit road to begin the cycle of pit stops. They cycle out to the top three, so that gives you an idea right there how that undercut strategy works out for them. Big thing, though, is they could be anywhere from 7 to 9, maybe even 10 laps shorter on fuel than everybody else in the field, and we'll have to see as we get closer to the second half of this race how that plays out. But this is the flip-flop, right? With Jackson Sims, it was looking like great strategy, got himself good track position, then he has to pit earlier than everybody else, he finds himself nearly a lap down. Now, after everybody's pitted, he's back out to the front, so looks like a genius again. Question is, though, what are the numbers like? Can it even out with him being out in front in the closing stages of this race, or is he going to have to make it on one more pit stop than everybody else?
That's the big question, because obviously being that lead car, you're getting a lot worse fuel mileage, because look at the front end of these trucks. They are bricks. They are not aerodynamic in the slightest. And when you're breaking the draft for the rest of the cars, you're running at a slower speed, you're running with more wind resistance, and you're just burning more fuel. So here comes a big question of, can you make it?
Give an attaboy to the entire field. Everybody on pit road cycled to green flag pit stops. Nobody got hit with a speeding penalty. We've got 26 drivers on the lead lap of the 28 that are still running. Looks like Gavin Fitzgerald, when he came to pit road there under that cycle, they pushed number 14 back behind the wall, so he'll get credited with 29th here tonight. Also joining the 55 of Ethan Ball, who retired after our most recent caution. Oh boy, just saw Jackson Sims there for a moment disappear. He's had a couple of blinking episodes tonight, but top four, single file, Sims, Henry, Owens, Baker. Then you've got group number 2, which is a trio with Henderson, Nanny, and Wilson. Here's your super speedway type aspect of Michigan, because now you've got the single file trains trying to either pull away or reel in. Pull away being the case of that first group, the reel in being the case of this second group. And in terms of lap times, it looks like group number 2 has got the advantage.
And I think the group number 2 is really a lot more together. And again, Daniel Nanny was a very aggressive pusher. I cannot,
yes.
I cannot understate that. And again, being able to have that kind of tandem almost relationship with that driver, and knowing that, hey, he probably has no fear. Knowing Elliott, he's probably saying, push me harder. So I've got confidence in those.
Elliott Henderson, after the cycle of pit stops, 5th position. The other drivers, his teammates that we're going to be keeping an eye on during the course of this race. Austin Moore, 12th. Michael Sensi in 14th. That is... Well, actually, now Moore just lost the 12th position to Brent Kincott, so that is 8 and 9 respective spots, 8 and 9 respective points that they have lost to their teammate, but current points leader Elliott Henderson. We'll have to wait once everything is calculated up to see if it is just basically a one-horse show when we get to Atlanta and everybody's just trying to get that final checker flag of the season with the championship all but accounted for. But it's still 50 laps to go. We still got half this Michigan race left to run. Elliott Henderson's not out of the woods yet.
I just noticed, I think really that second pack's going to be aided by Ryan Potter, just kind of being there. I think lap cars are really the best friend of these groups that are trying to catch up where, hey, it's just little bits of cars that just give you that little bit of draft that lets you keep pulling. I think you kind of hit it on the head where probably about 5-10 laps, this second pack will probably catch up to this lead pack.
Yeah, that last time by, the lead car of this first group ran a 40.4. Elliott Henderson, the leader of the second group, ran a 39.9. They're gaining about nearly half a second each lap. I think I'd go more on the 5 side of that 5 to 10 than the 10 side. I think that maybe Elliott Henderson could, in this next lap and a half, get that little bit of slipstream off the 0.25, and we're going to have ourselves a pack of 7 trucks. All right, Potter going a lap down. Next truck up ahead that these leaders will have to deal with is the 98 of Robin Durr.
Just kind of doing a scan for the field. It seems like everyone's kind of in about a 3 to 4 to 5 car pack. I see very few single cars.
This is now seeming like it's going to turn into more of a strategy race. Pit road going to more than likely be the deciding factor into all of this, rather than maybe the racetrack itself. As we drop back here and see, this is the 4th pack, being led by Austin Moore and Michael Sensi. Here is pack number 3, being led by Hunter Madalinas, Shane Neiswanger, last week's winner Nathan Jump, Matt Durr in this vicinity. And I guess we can now call this pack 2 because Henderson and Nanny, they have caught up to the lead pack, as has Zach Wilson.
Now here's the question, do you kind of fall in line and try to save fuel, or do you try to just blast by them?
Yeah, that's what I was actually kind of curious about with the 025 of Tyrell Baker. He was the 4th truck in line in what was then just the lead pack of 4, and I kept seeing him stepping out of line, looking to the inside of Spencer Owens. I didn't understand that, because that certainly didn't seem like you would be trying to save fuel, trying to stay in the draft. So
no, he's going.
Yeah, Henderson's going to the inside here. So I'm almost wondering, are Jackson Sims and Zach Henry, were they saving fuel potentially?
It could have been, and it makes sense where if you're already getting caught, might as well kind of save some fuel and hope for the best.
Kind of makes you question just how close these drivers are. We know they're going to have to make at least one more pit stop. I would think maybe a second, but I could be wrong. Again, with the fact that we had drivers play the strategy and kind of flip the 3 cautions we've had here tonight, it may have drawn other drivers to pit road a little bit sooner than they could have actually gone on a tank of fuel. So this will give us, I think, a lot better of an idea of just how far these drivers can go, if it is a one stop to the finish, or if they will maybe have to make it one more time, or potentially win this race on fumes.
Decisions. Honestly, at 30 and 37.
Yeah, he hasn't. I guess he hasn't told Daniel Nane to stop pushing him, because they're still locked tight.
And honestly, if they keep setting sail like this, yeah, fuel's going to be a problem. But again, if you can build up enough of a gap, I think we really do have to still stop at least once.
So right now, most of the field is completing their 12th or 13th lap on this run. Again, if we're looking at drivers to throw down the gauntlet, make the first dive onto pit road, I think you'd have to look again in the vicinity of the 6, the 12, and the 23. They were some of the first to dive onto pit road during the first cycle of pit stops, and those 3 drivers are 17 laps into their run. With this little okie dokie right there, Elliott Henderson saying, all right, I've led a good portion of this duo. Now you go out in front, and I get a little bit of draft to be able to save some fuel.
Honestly, I kind of like this. I kind of like the strategy. I don't know if it was actually intentional, but if I was Elliott Henderson, I really wouldn't be kind of rushing to try and fix it, because realistically, I would like to try and save some of the fuel, because I've been the lead car for the last, 14, 15 laps. It only makes sense that now, hey, I get to be the kind of drafting car for the rest of our stint. I get to save some fuel, and we'll kind of even out.
Well, we knew that with the multi-groove racing available here at Michigan, it's going to be a big opportunity once the green flag drop for drivers that may not have necessarily clocked in good qualifying efforts to be able to make up ground once the green flag flew. And One driver's made the most of that. Driver 54 now going to lose the third spot to Tyrell Baker and fall back to fourth, but Zach Wilson started this race outside the top 20, 22nd starting spot, and he has gained 18 positions in the first half of this race, so good job there by driver 54. Next highest driver would be Michael Sensi, who started back in 27th. He's right now in 13th place, plus 14 from where he rolled off the grid.
And it looks like TCB and Zach Wilson, they're really trying to make, or at least originally they were really trying to make an effort to try and catch up to these top two. They're already bouncing off each other.
Yeah, that was definitely some door banging there. I think maybe Zach Wilson was trying to pin Tyrell Baker behind that slower car of Robin Durr as they approached the turn 3. And Baker said, "Nuh-uh, you're not pushing me down there." And he fought back and pushed him back up the track.
I mean, it's a good strategy. I mean, if you can use a car as a pick, I just don't think he planned on TCB turning back up the track.
It's close again between those two going into turn number 1. Whoa, Zach Wilson, man, I wish he was wearing white gloves because he was all out of shape trying to gather the thing back up off of turn number 2. Back end was wanting to come around, but keeps his foot in the throttle and still hangs onto that right rear quarter panel of Tyrell Baker. Now gives way. Baker will move into the third spot. A little bit further back, Zach Henry, Jackson Sims, Spencer Owens, they're all battling side by side for the 5th position. Remember, for these three, they're kind of battling each other because they know they're going to probably be on pit road on the same lap. So they're trying to get the track position now, hoping it will translate into being ahead of the other two once the second round of pit stops is completed.
That's a lot of hope.
Whoa, 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 Zach Henry. Hands full there through the center of 1 and 2. Man, these guys are sliding around.
I don't think he intended that at all, but again, you always just catch these lap cars at the worst possible moments.
Yeah, was that, I was going to ask you, was that the end result of being in the wake of that 98 of Robin Durr that really upset the front end of that truck?
I think it played a factor, but I think he was also a little bit worried about Sims. Wow, that's an aggressive entry.
Jackson Sims on pit road. We saw before he was the first one onto pit lane during the first round of green flag pit stops, and it cycled him to the race lead. We'll see if it does again, as he was running, I believe, in 7th at the time of diving onto pit road, this time with 40 laps to go.
I think based off of this, he has at least one more stop left.
Yeah. Probably
around 80. But the question is, even if he goes around 80, does he have enough to make it to the end from there?
Close. It's going to be very close, because another thing that we know as well with tracks like this is at the beginning of races, when everybody is all clustered together and you've got the opportunity for draft, a fuel window can be a little bit longer. But as the field gets spread out and more fuel is consumed, fuel window, the pit window, can actually get a little bit shorter. What was originally a 30-lap run, you can maybe only make it about 25 laps on fuel. So it might be close there for driver number 6, who's going to pull right in front of the race leaders. Jackson Sims right now is on the tail end of the lead lap.
And if they're smart...
And there's a caution! That was right before Elliott Henderson and Zach Wilson, I think, were going to dive onto pit road. Very lucky for them. Otherwise, they probably would have been caught out on pit road. And this caution's for Nick Hansen, I believe, in the 17. Already on pit road. This caution helps a couple of people. Not only helps Jackson Sims, but Matt Durr, playoff driver, was a lap down. The first one lap down.
I'm looking at it. That is the strangest caution. I think the reason it got called, it looks like he was just off pace and Jeff Johnson came by and it was just enough to trigger it. But, I mean, he went way under a track. It should have never have triggered it. What in the world?
There you see. Comes to a stop on the apron after he got out of shape. He's not the only one that was getting loose there through the center of 1 and 2. We saw a lot of drivers have that issue, but yeah, to your point, certainly looked like it should have been something that caution should not have flown for. We'll take another look here.
And I will say the happiest guy on this track, Jackson Sims.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we know why he was fighting hard to keep the leaders behind him.
It's really played out well for him. He stayed on the lead lap. Yeah, I think he's going to cycle out to the lead if I'm not wrong.
mentioned about the fact that the 82 of Jeff Johnson was entering into the vicinity. I was watching it there, and even when the 82 was alongside the 17, I think the lights were still green down the back straightaway.
Huh.
Let's quickly go on board here with Jeff Johnson in the 82, and let's see if we can follow the caution lights on the wall. Up ahead is Nick Hansen.
Can I see him go?
Well, there, now watch this, down the back straightaway. Lights are still green, still green even at that point. Still green as he goes into turn 3.
Are you sure he was the cause of the caution?
He might not have been.
I didn't see anyone else spinning. Here's the thing, even if
Right there, off of turn 4 is when Jeff Johnson throws in the clutch, so he might not have been the reason for the yellow. Let's see if we can figure this out, because
the big thing is, yes, the 17 did stop on track. Hansen did stop. But the problem is he stopped underneath that white line, and the iRacing trigger shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have triggered since he was so far off the track. Even if he was stopped, it wasn't on the racing surface.
we're going to try and cycle through and see if we can find if there was maybe another reason for this yellow flag.
Like, that doesn't make any sense at all.
It really doesn't.
Because I don't understand why it called it on him. Let me...
Cycling through the field here, just trying to see if everybody is...
It's weird because when the pace car came out, the 17 was off track.
Yeah.
Literally off track, like he was towing back the pit road.
And I'm cycling. I do not see anybody out of shape or with an issue.
I guess we can chalk that up to Nick, but I find that really unfair. It doesn't make sense.
No, it really doesn't. That is an odd one. Now they're doubled up for the restart. I guess we could put a question mark next to caution number 4 on the day, but as you said, definitely big break for Jackson Sims, because look where he is on this restart. Everybody else was on pit road. He stayed out, along with Matt Durr, who was on pit lane at the time the caution came out and stayed on the lead lap. So they're your front row. Daniel Nanny, Elliott Henderson, Zach Wilson, the top 5, with Baker, Henry, Owens, Nice Wonger back up in the top 10 and 9th, and Austin Moore, the pole sitter, in the 10th position. Still, though, I think, like you said, I think there's still one more pit stop that these drivers have to make before the conclusion, as we'll be at 35 to go.
And this is when we get into that kind of interesting danger zone, because we're going to start seeing the urgency kind of pulled on for, hey, a lot of these drivers know that that stop is going to end up coming later on. I don't think we can make it to the end on this. So the question is, how aggressively do you push now? And do you try and save a little bit? See if you can do a shorter pit stop on that last cycle.
Well, one thing I'm wondering here is, well, potentially, I mean, we've got 35 to go, maybe run. We know 20-25 laps is about what drivers have done here on these green flag pit stops. Daniel Day is not going to waste any time. He's going for the race lead, but do you maybe split this run in half? Maybe come to pit road around lap 17, 18, 19? Maybe have an undercut in that type of way and not wait until about 20 laps into this run with 15 to go or 10 to go?
I mean, we got to remember last week where we saw a lot of those early takers saying, hey, we'd rather come in now and kind of run it late. Oh, car in the infield! All the way into the inside wall.
It's Rod Fast now in the 16. No caution as of yet.
I mean, he's off track. It shouldn't throw one.
I believe Hunter Brittle might have been involved in that as well, and now the yellow flag is out.
What in the world?
Is that potentially an admin thrown yellow?
No, but GLR has no admin thrown cautions.
16 is now missing a hood. I don't think he was missing a hood when we last looked at him, so I think something else just happened to him.
I don't know if that actually was called on Rod, but that makes no sense. He wasn't even on track.
Having some very interesting cautions late here at Michigan. Let's go back and at least look at the incident on the front straightaway involving Rod Fastnow and playoff contender Hunter Brittle. laps going into three wide, and Fast Now gets just really loose there, trying to save it in the griddle. Big hit into the outside wall.
I look back at it. That caution would have had to be called on Rod. There was no other incidents.
3 cautions or no?
There shouldn't be any debris cautions.
Because there definitely was a hood to front bumper laying up on the exit of turn 4.
That doesn't make sense. I don't understand it, because he's off the racing surface. It shouldn't trigger. That is bewildering.
There's another look at another angle. Oh man, look at that hit! Straight up into the outside safer barrier for Rod Fast Now.
Because he pulls off the track. He does what he's supposed to here. He went through the infield, but that shouldn't have triggered it at all.
Never spun, maintained decent speed,
and he's off the racing surface.
There's no one around him. Caution's out at that point.
I saw it trigger as soon as Rod ended up towing back to the pit road. But that doesn't make sense, because Rod sat there for just a second.
The interesting thing is, you would have thought that right here would have been the caution, but it came out so late, so long afterwards.
That's wild. Well, this throws a wrench into almost everyone's kind of plans here.
It really does, because we're nearing 30 to go. I've not really seen anybody stretch it that far, but I would certainly think it's feasible that you could maybe save enough to make it the rest of the way.
It seems like there's a little bit of divide in the field, because it looks like a few drivers came in. Few stayed out from that last stint. 5 laps is 5 laps. I don't think you're going to save enough fuel, but you still probably have to make that one stop. My question is, are we doing it to make that last stop easier?
We also had 3 early yellow flags, went into a long run stint in which we saw at least 1 cycle of green flag pit stops, and we were starting a second. Do drivers that have stayed out at this point think that maybe now with 2 quick yellows, we're going to continue to trend towards more cautions here in these final 30 laps? That will give them the opportunity to be able to save under pacing to make it the rest of the scheduled distance. Keep the track position, and maybe hopefully be able to clutch enough under pace laps.
It's possible. It may be. I don't know. That's sketchy.
Again,
that's
that disclaimer we seem to always give. Good thing we're up here in the broadcast booth rather than down there on the pit box.
You know, I actually got reminded of how good I was, or how good I delusionally was. Apparently, the last race we ran at Michigan here, I started P35 and finished 5th. I don't remember that at all. That's not good. that only happened 6 months ago.
Yeah, somebody, and it might have been you, said a couple of weeks ago, said that it's always the races that you lose you remember. The races you do well, you tend to forget.
The races that I finished second, and I remember a lot more vividly than the race
exactly. Now, see, if you had started a Michigan race 35th and finished 30th, I'll bet you could have brought that one up right away in your memory bank.
Oh, it would have been, I just plowed it into the outside wall and I just limped around all day. It happens.
All right, well, restart. Getting ready to begin. 30 laps to go here at Michigan. Daniel Nanny not battling for a championship, not having the playoff blue banner above his windshield. He's just out there looking for a trophy, looking for his first finish on the season inside of the top 15. Jackson Sims, Elliott Henderson, Matt Durr, and Spencer Owens. Playoff banners galore remaining in the top 5 as we're back underway here at Michigan. Starting to see a little overcast creeping in here onto the front straightaway. We'll see if that plays a factor into the outcome of this race.
I've noticed the track's already cooling down. We went from about 91 degrees all the way to 88. The sun not beating down definitely is helping a little bit, but the question is, will it remain?
That caution put Ryan Potter back on the lead lap. 23 drivers on the lead lap at this point in time. Looks like Rod Fast Now, his day could very easily be over after the big hit. We saw him take off of turn number 4. They're still trying to repair the KFC machine on pit lane. So caution prior to that. Nick Hansen into the wall and park it down against the inside wall on the back straightaway. He's going to be credited with 28th, looks like. I believe Michael Barbagelata will pick up that spot in the next 3 laps or so. Elliot Henderson gets a little loose there through the center. So does Spencer Owens on the bottom. So now what was double wide for second turns into almost 3 wide for third.
And it seems like almost kind of a disagreement that it's almost like, hey, I want to be in this line, but everyone wants to be in this line. Then I'll jump to my other line. Then everyone wants to be in that line. It's kind of a back and forth, and TCB just keeps sending it.
The problem, you're saying, I want to be in this line, then you slide up half a groove, and the driver beside you's like, I thought you said you wanted that line, not the line I was running.
And then they swap, and then it kind of repeats over and over and over again.
Like musical chairs at 107 miles per hour.
And this is where it gets really sketchy to look back at the pack, where you got Jackson Sims, Zach Wilson, and Shane Nicewanger all battling for position. Here's the thing, the middle driver kind of wants to pinch down on that bottom line, and the top driver, he wants to pinch down because he's in the worst line, but he's worried how much he can pinch down and not take out the entire field. It's a delicate balancing act.
A little contact there between the 2 red trucks. Hunter Madalinas last Nathan jump. That sent Nathan jump to the inside 3 wide on Shane Nicewanger. He backs out of that. Zach Wilson looking to the inside of Matt Duran. Look at this up here at the front for the lead. Henderson to the bottom. Nanny in the middle. Baker was looking on the top side. I think the 37 might be cleared. Not quite. Here comes Nanny battling back on the top off of turn 2.
TCB didn't even let him get out of the corner. He's already pushing him down the straightaway.
Bumper to bumper down the backstretch. Daniel Nanny clear into turn 3, but then the drive in by Elliot Henderson. Let's see if Nanny can get back to the throttle, maybe get this run off of turn 4 and clear for the top position off the final corner. Yes, he is clear. He'll drop down in front of the 37.
I think the most dangerous thing is leaving TCB a room to get to the bottom lane, because that's where he's been so strong. He's been able to kind of arc it all the way down. I haven't seen anyone else really pull off that move, but I'm really wondering how much of a wear does it put on those tires.
Man, Elliot Henderson tight through the center of 1 and 2.
I think he's going to dive.
Into the driver's side door of Baker.
I think he's going to dive in this corner. Yep.
There he goes, sending it in.
It makes sense.
What a killing on that right front tire, though.
I mean, it's a thing of like, hey, if you got him, use him. But
the race lead.
The best thing Nanny can do is keep doing what he's doing, push TCB all the way up the track on entry, and force him to find his own way down. And this is where it's really going to bite him, because he found his way down. And he's in the wall.
30 truck got the wall there with the right rear quarter panel. Saw that little puff of smoke off of turn 2. Baker gonna send it in. Might look for the slide job here in 3 and 4. Not really a slide job.
Let's say, I think we're in that delicate time now. We're going to start seeing some tires wear off soon, so if you got any moves, I'd kind of make them now.
And look at this. Both trucks ran the apron, and Tyrell Baker moves up the track. Daniel Nanny stayed on the bottom. Let's see if this works out for the 30, because he would have had a very shallow entry into turn 1, but it worked. Oh, now he pushes up off the 2, though.
But what he did is he actually ended up shortening it out and ended up straightening out earlier. So he took a more direct route, cut across the track. It helped him on exit, but it's going to kill him on entry.
Tremendous racing all the way through this pack. Double wide, 3 wide there for the 4th position. And, oh yeah, by the way, they can't make it on fuel. They still got to come to pit road one more time. So this is kind of the race to the battle on pit road, potentially.
And like I said, Nanny needs to keep pushing TCB up all the way up the track and trying to hold him from that bottom line, because that's what's making him so strong.
Jackson Sims, he came down
Oh,
on Elliot Henderson looking 3 wide. He got to the inside of Shane Nicewanger. That's the battle for 3rd going on still between this back and forth crossover versus crossover between Nanny and Baker.
Elliot sends it. Oh, Durr got a little bit slide.
So did Zach Henry. Hang on to it, though. It's almost one of those cases you just want to sit back and watch it rather than call what you're seeing. How about Austin Moore back there in the 91? Trying to go coast to coast. He's now into the 8th position, trying to get around Hunter Madalinas.
And the
And
thing
he
of,
looks bottom, slides top. We're on the last lap.
Sims!
Oh, Sims
No!
in the wall. Everybody gonna get down to the bottom to avoid him. But that was a pretty good shot into the outside safety barrier for driver number 6. A lot of momentum lost.
I think Sims just got a little bit of help from Spencer Owens, but he did a good job recovering.
All the way back now to the 17th position does Jackson Sims. Led in the midway portion of this race, was up inside of the top 10 pretty much the entirety of this race. Nice Wonger wants to play. He started out the season with back-to-back victories. That was at Daytona and Rockingham. Looking for his 3rd win on the season, looking to kind of bookend the season with victories. Elliot Henderson right there as well in the 37, don't count him out. And Hunter Madalinas has had a lot of speed this season. He just hasn't been able to find victory lane. He and Zach Wilson mixing it up for 5th.
And it seems like that outside line's going to prevail right now, but now it's kind of roles reverse. So you're going to see TCB trying to push Nanny up the track, but I don't think Nanny's going to kind of give him that space.
Contact was made between those two. Coming off of turn number 4 and onto the front straightaway. Nice Wonger, going to propel Nanny back to the front on that outside line. Saw 13 of Lewis Woodall, who was just on pit road at 20 to go.
Could be a strategy, could be a strategy. If that caution comes out right now, he's in a really good position.
Yeah. Well, remember too, though, Jackson Sims, he cycled out in the first round of pit stops. I think the 91's coming in this time.
Yeah, a lot of those guys are coming in this time.
Austin Moore, hang on to it. Woo! Slideways there on the entry. Henderson's in, Sensi, Madalinas. Brett Kingcott. And I believe that is that Kemp back there? Yes, it is, the 63.
Yeah, those are guys that mostly stayed out that last caution, did not have a chance to come in, top off with fuel, get new tires. So they're going to have to pit just a little bit earlier than these guys. But these guys up front are probably holding out for a little bit of a caution. I think Nanny may be coming in this time.
Yes, he is. Yep. Zach Wilson looks like in the 54 as well. Baker is going to come in also. Oh, he's going to go around. Half spin. It's a refire, but that's a lot of position lost. Oh, and I think Lewis Woodall might have gotten the penalty on exit. He's back in.
Oh.
Strategy did not work out, and I was thinking that would look like it was going to be really good strategy because kind of similar to what Jackson Sims did early on in the race. Made a pit stop ahead of everybody else, stayed on the tail end of the lead lap, and then once everything cycled around, he was the leader, but that's not going to be the case. Looks like for driver 13, a Shane Nice Wonger inherits the race lead over last week's winner from Kansas, Nathan Jump. Zach Henry into 3rd, Matt Durr in 4th, Aiden DuPont in 5th, and none of the top 5 come to pit road yet. So these must be the drivers that are of the strategy of let's stretch it as far as we possibly can. If they do that, depending on how many laps are left, what do you think? 2 tires, right sides only?
I mean, depending on how much fuel I need to put into it, like I'm only going to throw 2 tires on it because I'm looking at the gap. Again, to pit and take 4 tires, it takes about 14 seconds. If I'm going to pit and only take maybe half a tank or maybe a 3/4, I mean, I can cut it down to maybe like 7, 8, 9 seconds maybe. So I have a better chance out of that and trying to fend off on those tires.
Nice Wonger's in. So is Jump.
Ooh, man, Jump is giving him some assistance.
Zach Henry, Matt Durr. I believe that is Brent Kingcott coming back in the 1, so he might have gotten a penalty on exits. Aiden DuPont, Matt Durr also in this lap. Ryan Potter, I think, is going to cycle to the lead. And Ryan...
This seems like a Potter kind of win.
He is only 16 laps into this run. I don't think he can make it another 16 laps. But
honestly, I think
you get a caution, maybe.
If he plays his cards right, I think he could.
I do believe that Ryan Potter is damaged and off the pace. We saw after, I think it was the 3rd caution.
Great, he just put his engine in hybrid mode. It's great. He's saving fuel. He dropped a few cylinders. It's already running more fuel efficient.
He's right now a little less than 20 seconds ahead of Elliot Henderson, who would cycle out to the race lead once the 60 does dive onto pit road. If he dives onto pit road, Daniel Nanny, Austin Moore, Zach Wilson, Jeff Johnson right now would be the top 5 once the 60 either gives up the lead or has the lead taken from him. But 15 laps to go here, and that is your race leader there, folks. Ryan Potter, who hit I think he just barely hit 175.
Is that the equivalent of like? Is that the equivalent of, sir, you've had too much to drink, you need to leave? You ever hand over the lead or we'll take it from you?
Maybe. Oh, man. But Ryan Potter, I mean, you know, if you're not going to win the race, you might as well try something. If you're not based off of the speed in the truck, try something. And I'm actually looking to see, I'm not certain how he ended up getting so off sequence with these other drivers. I guess he pitted under the last caution and maybe was able to save.
I've seen Potter enough to know that these kooky fuel strategies he comes up with, they sometimes play out. They sometimes buff out. I've stopped counting that man out.
Well, one driver who I definitely had on my list to watch tonight and things did not work out his way was Hunter Brittle, because the sister track to Michigan, Auto Club, was run earlier on this season. It was the 3rd race, and Hunter Brittle went to victory lane there. I was certainly thinking that we might see that same speed out of driver number 10, even though he mathematically is not any longer in the hunt for the championship. But we saw him caught up in an earlier incident. Right now he is the last truck on the lead lap in 21st. So you'll see on the top left, Ryan Potter still showing the way. We're going to drop back here because this is more than likely going to be the battle for the win. Daniel Nanny out in front, Zach Wilson there in second. And this is a familiar sight for Elliott Henderson, seeing a couple drivers up ahead of him that have nothing to lose. They're just battling for the checkered flag here tonight. Henderson wants that checkered flag, but he doesn't want to tear up his equipment in doing so.
Ooh, there's a car that slid way back through the inside of the field. Looks like it was TCB. He's pushing a little bit out of 4.
All the way back now to the 13th position. May fall back into the clutches of Matt Durr for that
spot.
Know,
the more I look at this, oh my God. I'm kind of running the math in my head. Potter might. he might have a chance if he can make it to the end.
Here's the thing. If he can make it with what he is losing each lap, I don't think he can hold them off.
I don't know. If anyone gets within like a second, it's gone. It's over.
It was 16 to go, and he had an 18-second gap, 18.5-second gap back to then race leader. Actually, no, Daniel Nanny was the leader at the time. So now, with 11 laps to go, he's got less than 11 seconds between himself and this group. So
I think the big key things are, A, can Potter actually make it? Which that's going to be a question because there is some damage on the car. B is also going to be, can this lead pack, or this pack here, continue to work as well as they do, or are we going to start fighting each other? So they start fighting each other, I think that's where it's going to start to fall off.
And, you know, back to your point, you know, if he is able to make it the rest of the way, if you're not able to go out there and win, you want to at least get the best possible finish with the hand that you're dealt. Potter's got damage.
I don't know.
Earlier incident.
If Potter can really make it to the end of the fuel, I think he can steal one here.
Well, here's the thing. Even if he doesn't win, when the pit stop cycle, that last pit
look
stop
at the
cycle,
gap. Look at the gap.
He was running 22nd. He's going to finish better than 22nd if he can make it the rest of the way, because he's got about 23 seconds back to the 20th place truck. Whoa, Spencer Owens! I don't know what just happened there, if he got loose off of 4, if there was contact, but he nearly went down to the infield grass. Nice save.
I think he got a little bit of assistance from our old friend Jeff Johnson, but you know, I'm looking at that gap. By
7.7 seconds now.
By my count, they'd catch him on white to white flag if they keep working the way that they are, which I think if it gets... Oh, Potter's coming in.
No, couldn't make it.
That's it. I had hope there for a minute. That would have been crazy.
It's 23 laps on that run. Couldn't make it any further than that. It turns the race lead over to Daniel Nanny. Daniel Nanny's been one of the best pushers here today. Now, with less than 10 to go, can he be one of the best blockers? Because he's got a very hungry Zach Wilson right behind him.
Just looking at this here, kind of a different look for him because he's been used to kind of battling Elliot Henderson. He's been used to battling Avelinas. He's been used to battling TCB, but he hasn't really won against Wilson all day.
Talked about the stats for Daniel Nanny. Best finish in 2 starts of 19th. For Zach Wilson, he's only made 3 starts this year. He's got a runner-up finish at North Wilkesboro back in mid-June. Also has another top 10 finish at Homestead. His worst finish was 13th. It was last week at the Kansas Speedway. Look at that tight racing there between Nicewanger and Elliot Henderson. Remember, those two kind of got into it with some late contact back at, what was the second race of the playoffs, I do believe, at Milwaukee Mile? Or, no,
I don't know.
Nicewanger's
not really the person I'd kind of mess with here at the moment because I'm kind of looking at him, and he's had quite an eventful race. I don't really know if I want all that anger directed at me.
Nicewanger started this race from 3rd. We saw he fell all the way back at one point outside of the top 15. Nice comeback for him. Now back up to where he started this race and looking for more. Gonna go for 2nd on Wilson. Oh my gosh! Oh, Wilson! He saved it!
He saves it, no caution.
Wow. There's a lot of things that could have happened there. Was that just taking air off the nose with that very cool slide job? Was there actually contact? Did he maybe get on the brakes to let the 49 in? I don't know what happened there.
I really think that was air. That couldn't have been actual contact. At least it didn't actually look like contact. But it's definitely kind of thrown up a little bit of that pack back there. They're a little bit kind of jostling.
That was an amazing save there by Zach.
Oh, look at
Wilson.
Nicewanger.
He's taking no prisoners. I think Nicewanger's in the thought process now of, if I end up getting the win, great. It puts me in the championship picture. But if I don't, hey, at least I gave it a Gilman's try.
A Gilman's try? I've not heard that before.
That's because you're part of the different generation.
Oh, I thought that was a northern thing.
Nope. Maybe it is. Maybe it's an old man northern thing. Who knows? Maybe I've covered both bases.
I was grown up in the sticks, sir.
I'm trying to think of what the term would have been for that. But anyway, Nicewanger to the lead. Henry in the 2nd. 3rd place under contest. Nathan Jump looking for his 2nd straight victory. Not going to be able to make the move on Daniel Nanny. Nanny's going to send it in. Jump sends it 3 wide for 2nd.
Jump's trying to go back-to-back here.
He is indeed looking to join Shea Nicewanger and Elliot Henderson as a back-to-back winner here in Season 6 of the Great Lake Truck Series.
And honestly,
3 laps to go.
I love what Elliot Henderson's doing. He's backing way off from that. He's like, listen, I'm fine with my P5. I'm fine with my P4. Just let me finish.
Got Austin Moore in 7th, Michael Sensi in 10th. They make, whoa! Henderson was loose there on the bottom up in 2. The 91 to 92, they're right in the vicinity of the 37. They still could mathematically have a shot going into next week. Yeah, Jeff Johnson there.
He's in this.
28th here today. What a job. Daniel Nanny, I think, had some contact there or had to bail out of the throttle to avoid it between himself and Zach Henry.
I'd say Jeff really has a shot at this if he can kind of keep the nose clean.
He's going to dive it to the inside there on Daniel Nanny for 4th. Up ahead, battle for 2nd. Ooh, close for both those battles.
And that's
Jeff's
really just
clear up across the nose of Austin Moore. Jump, he clears Zach Henry, who looks to cross over, blocked by the 83. What are we doing down the backstretch here?
Listen, we're going to find our way.
The most aggressive game of musical chairs I've ever seen.
Well, it's getting to the last lap, so it's get out of my way. I'm going.
White flag will be displayed this time. Nicewanger looking for win number 3. Jump and Henry both looking for win number 2 on the season. It's a 3-horse race, and then Daniel Nanny back there in 4th, licking his chops, thinking maybe I could go from 4th to 3rd in the corner.
Well, I said,
first, I should say.
If it sticks, if it sticks. If it doesn't, then hey, that guy on my outside is now my turn.
Jump is there. Zach Henry trying to push. Nice Wonger clear. Does anyone go for the slide job here into turn 3?
Well, I said,
Goes the block low, goes middle. Jump on the bottom.
Oh, use him up!
Back. Saves it. Shane Nicewanger's going to keep them all at bay. Nicewanger wins at Michigan. 3rd win on the season.
Look at that, and Jeff Johnson P5. I did not have that on my bingo card today.
Henderson 6th, Moore 7th, Sensi in 10th. I think those 3 still are going to be duking it out. Teammates still going to be battling at Atlanta in a couple weeks' time for that championship. I think mathematically they're all still in contention.
That's it. They're going to need something extreme to happen, but there's a possibility.
Jade Nicewanger, his last victory back beginning of March 14th, when he took the checkered flag at Rockingham. Now joins William Barbagelata as a 3-time winner here in Season 6. I don't think, unfortunately, we'll have to wait for official scoring and the points. I don't think this is going to be enough to get him back into the championship picture, because everybody else he was battling finished up inside of the top 10. The 37, 91, 6, and 92, finishing in 4 of the 5 spots of 6th through 10th.
Yeah, I think it's a little too late at this point, but just for the pure fact of, hey, at least we're doing the best. And this is really what Nicewanger decided to do, which is, hey, we're doing our best to try to make sure that we can control our own destiny of, hey, I did the best I could. I ended up leading a bunch of laps. I ended up winning the race. The rest of it is in, Henderson's hands, is in the rest of the field's hands. And unfortunately, even though it didn't play out perfectly for Nicewanger, he did the best he could. There's nothing to be ashamed of.
Pulls it into victory lane here and the infield grass on the front straightaway, and we'll show you the finishing results from this wild one here at Michigan. Henry bringing it home in the 2nd spot. Nathan Jump, close to going back-to-back, gets 3rd. Daniel Nanny, who I believe led the most laps today, 4th place performance for him. You mentioned Jeff Johnson. Started this race from outside the top 25, 28th on the grid. That is second to last, folks. And he ends up bringing it home with the top 5. Elliot Henderson, points leader, continues the consistency in 6th. Austin Moore there in 7th. Same deal for Jackson Sims, like Shane Nicewanger. A great run here today. Played some very good strategy in the first half of this race, but just a little too late for that good run. I don't think that's going to get him into the conversation for the championship at Atlanta. Another good run for playoff contender Spencer Owens after his great performance back at Kansas last week also. 9th for him, and Michael Sensi may have kept his championship hopes alive with a 10th place performance. Take a look at the rest of the finisher results here. These were drivers that weren't up in that lead pack, didn't have a shot for this victory. Zach Wilson had that big slide, that big save, brings it home in 11th place. You have to think that if he had been up in that lead group, he would have certainly been in the conversation for the checkered flag. Matt Durr there in 12th. Aiden DuPont led early on this race, gets 13th. Madalinas, Adam Zorn complete the top 15. Then you got Kemp, Tyro Baker, Shiflett, Jared Darling, Hunter Brittle. That's the top 20, and those were the drivers, for the most part, that finished on the lead lap. Brent Kincott, he ended up, I believe, having to make a pit stop before the conclusion of this race, as did Ryan Potter, who finished in 21st and 22nd. And you go down to, I believe, Lewis Woodall? No, to Michael Barbagelata. Those were the drivers that finished this race. The rest of the drivers finished in the garage area at the conclusion of tonight's race here at Michigan. Well, I'm out of breath up here in the booth. I think it's time to let the drivers do a little bit of talking if they've caught their breath. Let's see if we can dial up our podium finishers. Let's kick things off with the guy that we talked to in victory lane last week. Follows up with a podium finish here tonight, and that is Nathan Jump. Hey, Nathan, Matthew and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Well, man, you had a shot there in those final couple of laps to go back-to-back here in Season 6. It's a lot of darting back and forth down the back straightaway there on that final lap. A lot of blocking, a lot of moving. what could you have done to be able to get this thing? Because we knew there was maybe a possibility for a slide job, maybe a possibility of some contact to take advantage. You guys raced hard, but you raced clean on that final stint.
Yeah, I think I needed Zach to push me there in the backstretch on the last lap. I tried to stand it in on Shane a little bit, but just not enough grip. Got to respect these dudes. Don't want to take anybody out on the last lap like that. I did that last night in our other series. Didn't feel good. But yeah, I hung around in the back for the probably first half of the race. Wasn't as chaotic as I thought it'd be, but somehow found a way in the top three.
How in the world? It was pretty much in the last 10 laps. It was you came through the field and you were just suddenly there. I mean, how in the world did you do that?
Well, I was watching TCB, his line in 3 and 4. He would dive it down real deep, and there was a lot of grip down there. It was sticking pretty good, and then you just got to play the side draft game. And I don't know. I really don't know how I got up there. Me, Shane, and Zach, we all pit late, and I thought that wasn't gonna work, but here we are, 1, 2, 3. So I guess that was a good call by Shane. He was leading us down pit road there.
We knew in practice, based off what we saw, this was going to be a very multi-groove racetrack. The ability to be able to race double wide, 3 wide. We saw 4 wide. I think we might have seen 5 wide for a brief moment. But you talk about the pit strategy here today. How important, how prevalent were tires in this race?
Well, I wasn't really racing for the first half, so I'm not too sure. But last week the undercut was working, and it seems based on how we finished 1, 2, 3, the pitting late seemed to work here for whatever reason. I didn't think it'd work like that.
Well, Nathan, another great performance for you following up that victory last week at Kansas. Congratulations. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Shout out Zach Henry and Shane Niswanger for clean racing there at the end. That's all I got, man.
Nathan Jump, back-to-back podium finishes as he brings it home 3rd place here tonight at Michigan International Speedway. Congratulations. Best of luck in 2 weeks' time in closing out the season at Atlanta.
Yep. Thanks for the broadcast.
Let's see if we can get Zach Henry, who came up very close to getting his 2nd win on the season. Hey, Zach, Matthew and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Well, I'll tell you what, we were treated to a thrilling finish here at Michigan, but I can only imagine the sweating bullets that you had underneath that helmet in this number 12 truck there on that final lap. Well, not even the final lap, final 3 or 4 laps you guys were mixing it up for that race lead. Describe what was going on there. If you could go back, is there anything you could do differently to have this 12 in victory lane?
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I guess maybe if I would have tried to undercut Shane, then I might have been able to get out in front of him and stay in front of him. But part of the key to that strategy working, pitting late and driving through the field for, I guess, Shane, myself, and Nathan Jump was we were able to just kind of line up and go. And I think we had 1 or 2 other guys tagged on behind us as well. And if I would have pit a lap earlier and was riding around by myself, then that wouldn't have worked out at all. But I think if Nanny wouldn't have side drafted me as hard as he did down the front stretch with 4 or 5 to go, and then Jump got beside me, and we were side drafted really hard and blocking it. I mean, this is a ton of fun. But you know, if those 2 guys weren't on the track, then I probably could have made a pretty nice run at Shane there for the win.
Now I've got to ask, I mean, as those tires wore down, as the fuel tank got low, I mean, how much of a handle was this car?
So it really depends on how you're driving. If if you're really aggressive and really kind of pushing it at the start of the runs, you tend to wear out the right rear a little bit more, and it starts to get loose. It starts to get slick. If you're a little easier with your just getting back onto the throttle, through the corners and maybe cracking it through the center of the corner rather than just flat out, then it still wears a little bit loose towards the end of the run in traffic by yourself. Not really, but in traffic, it starts to wear a little bit loose. But it's a lot more manageable. So I think a lot of the people you saw really fighting the truck at the tail end of those fuel runs, those are the people that really push to get up front and maintain that track position.
You got that victory back at Milwaukee. 5 second-place finishes this season. You're now running a streak of 3 runner-up finishes in a row. We've got Atlanta, the old track, worn-out surface in 2 weeks' time. Obviously, there's got to be some motivation to try and close out this thing with a victory. So how much effort goes into preparing for that 1.5-mile track in the finale?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably not a whole lot. I haven't really been doing any kind of preparation at all for this season and just showing up and racing, and filling it out through the first run and going from there. And that seems to be working out pretty good for me up to this point. So I might just continue doing that. I think, in previous seasons when I was running for the championship, I think I would almost over prepare for some of these races. And while I'd still be competitive and fast, I would almost over prepare to the point where I maybe develop a bad habit of maybe just barely missing the absolute correct line, or overdriving the center of the corner or something like that. And while doing something that's close to the right thing really, really well is still competitive, you're still missing that little bit of time that you could have. And I think that's just something that I've learned, just kind of going into it, figuring out as I go, and then driving what's comfortable. But I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of curious to know how many people have 4 consecutive second place finishes in the league. So I might just have to go for the record books rather than the win.
Well, great performance for you here tonight. Another solid outing inside of the podium. Second place here this evening in a thrilling finish at Michigan. Congratulations on the job well done. Before we let you go, we'll hand the mic over to let you thank some sponsors and do some shout-outs.
First, I want to shout out my 2511 teammate that was here tonight, Ian DuPont. He has been involved in a lot of things this season, but he had a really, really solid run today. Didn't quite get the finish that I think he deserved and that he was capable of. He just made some little mistakes during some of those green flag pit cycles to lose a little bit of time, but he'll clean that up over time. And I think you give him next season. He gets the next season. I think he's going to start being really competitive at some of these places, and I'm excited to see that happen. I also got to shout out my wife and some family that's watching. Undercurrents for riding on the hood of the truck all season long and let me represent those guys. The broadcast team, you guys for doing a really good job each and every week, and then I also got to shout out Nathan Jump and Daniel Nanny. I don't know that I've been doored or side drafted that aggressively that many laps consecutively without some sort of incident occurring, and it was just a blast trying to fight with those guys for the positions. And unfortunately, because of that, I didn't get the shot at Shane, but I don't know that I've ever had more fun just racing for second place than those last 5 or 6 laps. And then I also want to shout out Shane as well. Congratulations on the win. He did an excellent job on that strategy, just kind of guiding all of us through the field and not really making a mistake, and just executing that strategy very well.
Well, fun for the drivers, certainly fun for us up here in the booth. Zach Henry, second place finish here tonight at Michigan. Congratulations once again on a great run. Best of luck in the finale in 2 weeks' time at Atlanta.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
All right, let's see if we can get down to victory lane and dial up the 3-time winner on the season, Shane Nicewanger. Hey, Shane, it's Matthew and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got a copy?
How's it going, guys?
Well, I'll tell you what, you started out the season with the checkered flag at Daytona. Kind of put those super speedway blocking skills to work here in the closing stages at Michigan, but you had a choice to make. You had them double wide behind you. You had to figure out where they were going to go, where you were most comfortable. You took that middle line through 3 and 4. Was there any point in your mind that you thought, I might have chosen the wrong line on entry?
No, on the last lap when I got that bump down the backstretch, I thought I was good. I was actually a little surprised. Jump, he did a really good job sort of getting back to me. We made a little contact. I don't know if that was my fault or his. So if that was my fault, my bad. That wasn't the goal. And then once I knew I got through 3 and 4, it was clear to the finish line.
Now, I've got to ask, is this win kind of bittersweet? Because, looking at the standings right now going into next race, really at Atlanta, it looks like you're mathematically out of championship kind of picture. So does that kind of put it in perspective of, hey, we're just going for trophies?
In a way, it sort of is. Brittle and I, for most of the regular season, were 1-2 in points. And after, I know for him, I don't think Milwaukee went as well, but I know Brittle and I both got caught up in something at Talladega, and our playoffs haven't been the best. But on the bright side, compared to where we were last season, this is a huge step forward for the team. Brittle won at Auto Club. I won here, so we're pretty good at these 2-mile tracks. it wasn't a GLTS race, but Matt also won our Indy 500 race. Like, we have been performing a lot better this season than where we were this point last season. So that's something we can take into next season.
You mentioned a sweep at the sister 2-mile racetracks for Dark Horse Motorsports. You also now jump up in a tie for most wins on the season, 3 apiece between yourself and Will Barbagelata. But one thing that we were looking at during the course of this race was drivers, they would be strong in the early going. They kind of faded back, some of it due to the pit strategy, some of it due to maybe just like the field getting spread out with those green flag pit stops. At one point, I think we saw you as far back as 15th, 16th place, but then you fight your way back up to the front here late. With the type of racing that we saw here tonight, how easy or how difficult is it if you get on yourself of, I should be running up there, to overforce the issue in maybe being a little bit too aggressive? How difficult is it to remain patient till you get to the end of the race?
Yeah, I wasn't really patient today. The tires held up fairly well until the end. I'm sure you guys, if you cut to me at any point when I was in the 10th, 12th area, I was getting really loose late in the run. But other than that, you could push on the tires a little bit. I knew I got hit or something, and it sent me to the back on that first run. And then if I had a long run and we had a caution and I could work my way back up there, I was going to be all right. And then we pit with, oops, sorry, my phone went off. We went, I went with Zach, and him and I kind of just worked our way through that group, and it was going to come down to him. Iron Jump was also with us that whole time. We were all on the same strategy.
Well, an incredible finish here tonight at Michigan. 3rd win on the season for you. Congratulations. Obviously, some good momentum heading into that season finale. We may see you be a 4-time winner before all is said and done when the checkered flag waves at Atlanta. But we'll let you get back to your celebration. Before we do, though, the microphone is yours for Victory Lane. Thank you, sponsors and shoutouts.
Yeah, I got to thank my team. Like I said, Hunter Brittle, his help every week getting ready for these races, Matt and Robin Durr. Matt had a really strong race tonight. Didn't get the result I thought he deserved, but he was up there. So we're going to work on getting that straightened out. Lewis Woodall, want to thank him. And then some news I want to break. Actually, Zach Henry next season is going to be coming over to Dark Horse. So maybe this is a little sneak peek of what you'll see next season.
It'll be a little preview for Season 7 here in the Great Lake Truck Series. Well, Shane, congratulations once again on your 3rd victory on the
we don't have everything. One more part of the announcement that kind of throwing this together as I go, but we're going to have a second satellite team as well with Aiden DuPont and Jordan Gonzalez. If I'm waiting on the message back from him, but it's going to be a lot of fun working with those guys next season.
Thanks for the invite.
You want to come? We got 2 more spots. We're looking.
As we get close to the end of the season, silly season starts to enter into the conversation. But Shane, congratulations.
You know somebody looking for a ride, send them my way.
Put it a
Get them resumes filled out now. Shane, congratulations on the victory here tonight. Best of luck in the upcoming season finale at Atlanta. Some good momentum heading into the preparation for next season.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Shane Neiswanger, 3-time winner on the season. And that is, again, his first win since March 14th when he took the checkered flag, his 2nd win of the season at Rockingham. So a bit of a winless streak and a good bookend to the season here. Now he'll look to keep the momentum up heading into Atlanta in 2 weeks' time. Of course, the driver's off for the 4th of July next Tuesday, and then they'll settle it out for the championship. Matt, you talked about it. The point stands are in. Looks like it's still a 3-horse race, but a couple of long shots there.
Honestly, I'm going to be a little bit of a Debbie Downer here. I really think that the battle is really going to come down to just Elliot Henderson and Austin Moore. I mean, I looked here, and we can use our latest race as kind of our guide here. Race winner Neiswanger, he got 44 points. And that's not the maximum that you can possibly get, but assuming that maybe you don't have a perfect race, but even if you do have a perfect race, your max is about 40 to 50-ish points. And that really puts Senzi on like the far back foot because he is 44 out. I mean, he is going to need effectively a perfect day, and he needs Elliot Henderson to just not even start the race, while Moore has a more believable chance.
More believable chance at 31 points back, but at the same time, there are a couple of factors that you have to kind of put into that, and one of them would be obviously field size. How many points are available on the table for Austin Moore to be able to close up on Elliot Henderson? The other thing, too, I really feel that this is the case. If Austin Moore is going to win this championship, Elliot Henderson needs to be his own worst enemy. There has to be a DNF, I think, for the 37. I just do not see mathematically any other type of scenario where Austin Moore is able to go out there and is able to best Elliot Henderson by 32 points unless the 37 runs into some trouble. And Elliot Henderson, let's face it, he has been the most consistent driver here during the playoffs. Yes, the 2 victories have certainly helped, but all of his other finishes here during the playoff races, I believe his worst finish in the playoffs is 11th, and that was back at North Wilkesboro.
It's definitely going to be one of those touch and go. If it's going to happen, it's going to be incredible.
It is. Yeah, it's going to have to definitely be a huge comeback story for Austin Moore. But credit to Austin, started on the pole, got spun from the lead, and was able to come back inside of the top 10, so still kept his championship hopes alive. We'll have to wait and see. Can Elliot Henderson close out the deal in 2 weeks' time at Atlanta? Can Austin Moore be able to close up the 31-point gap? You'll have to tune in and find out. Again, we're off next week for the 4th of July. Then these drivers are back at it at Atlanta on the 11th of July. Green flag will fly at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Congratulations once again to Shane Neiswanger on the victory here tonight at Michigan. And Matt, we had to go through a couple of early cautions, long green flag run, a couple of late cautions, and then that wild finish at the end was well worth it, though, with what we saw here in the Irish Hills. Appreciate you joining me in the booth.
Always, always.
Thanks everybody that tuned into our coverage here tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Until 2 weeks from now for the finale for the Great Lake Truck Series presented by Patti Engineering. For Matthew Rodriguez, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you guys at Atlanta as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your